In terms of measuring the degree of alarm of a presidential candidate's party about their performance, I have never seen anything like this by an order of magnitude.
Whoa! Yes. You guys pushed him into this. You nominated somebody who was not capable of this job. So what were you doing? Why did you put all of your eggs into this basket?
I agree with everything you said, except for the last part of it. Everybody calm down, and I'll tell you why.
Why?
I mean, it's fine to not spin what happened last night, and we're not going to.
But by the way,
he had
Mika,
a terrible
by the
night.
way, Mika, everybody's calm here. No, you're the only one raising your voice. Everybody
No.
is calm here.
Trump walks out, and here is the scene. Now, we'll compare and contrast that with one of Joe Biden's little maneuvers when he was done with the debate, but here was Trump. All right, so that's the president. Looking good, big crowd, enthusiasm, lot of fun. He looks sharp. Now, the problem is he can walk. It's not a problem for Trump. It's a problem for the Biden campaign and the Democrats. Joe Biden really has a little bit more of a difficult time with that, as you can see in this clip. So Alex Jones clipped this. The Post-Millennial is resharing this. But when we were here on the stream, we were jipping off the C-SPAN feed, and so we didn't get to see some of the post B-roll footage, essentially, some of the post footage like we have here. And watch this compare and contrast, right? Watch how Trump just walks right off the stage, and watch how Dr. Jill Biden, who's going to be really the only person who's out there, I think, leading the campaign on behalf of Joe Biden. She walks and literally helps him down the stairs. Here is the president. He's walking off the stage. And then the president is Jill Biden walks up there, and they're just helping him down. Come on, Joe. There you go. Good job. One more. There you go. Now we're off. You did a great job. And then they go and they shake hands with these two Democrat moderators. So we saw how that happened. So, right, there's Jill. Oh, it's great to see you. Thanks for covering up for him. Thanks for doing everything you can to play interference on all the tough questions. Good to see you. Trump's like, all right, later, losers. I got a plane to catch. I got a country to save. Doesn't even look at him. Look at that. Hey, are we done? All right, later, losers. Just destroyed this entire arena. Jake Tapper, Dana Bash, they did their best to try to box him into something or try to create an opening that Biden can run through, but no, couldn't do it. So Trump just walks on out, not even a side glance. What's up? So they also then did a little bit of a post rally. So they stopped at a Waffle House. Joe Biden had a couple of statements and Jill Biden had a couple of statements. So she's kind of taking charge on this whole thing. And Dan Scavino shared this one, but wrote that Joe Biden was there with Dr. Jill, and listen to how she talks to him. You know, when you talk to like an 8-year-old who maybe didn't win the game, but you finished the race, little Johnny. You did it. You did a great job. Wow. You did like all of it. You ate all your food. Wow. The whole plate. You ate it all. Here, listen to how Dr. Jill sounds.
And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Why?
So they showed up at a Waffle House. Dr. Jill is here with the president, elect president. He's leaning down. Here's a question. He's asking him, Joe, specifically questions. Are you concerned about your performance? What are you talking about? Do you think you should drop out? What are you talking about? So watch Joe's reaction.
Do you have any concerns? Democrats are concerned that you should drop out, that you're not fit for the job, your voice, your performance tonight. Do you have any concerns about your performance?
No, it's hard to debate a lot. New York Times pointed out today you lied 26 times. Big lies. No.
Are you suffering from a cold? Your campaign said that you're sick.
Oh, did you hear that? Are you suffering from a cold or something? I have a sore throat. All right, so that's going to be the little angle that they're going to go with, that he just had a sore throat. Got it. All right, so then Joe Biden went out and he's giving these little talks. So he tried to rehabilitate his image. They threw him on a stage after this and said, hey, just try something else.
Except he's just a liar. Look, folks, what's going to happen over the next couple of days, they're going to be out there fact-checking all the things he said.
Okay, cool. We got one coming
I
up.
can't think of one thing he said that was true.
Okay, let's see.
Oh, I'm not being facetious. But look, we're going to beat this guy. We need to beat this guy.
I don't think so, dude. You might not even be on the top of the ticket there, brother.
I need you in order to beat him. You're the people I'm running for.
All right, so a couple people are there cheering for him. Dr. Jill was also out. They dragged out some others to speak. Here's the fact check that actually came out. And man, this was brutal. It's 49 seconds. Shout out to Charlie Kirk for clipping this one. And this was from CNN post-debate.
Some of them, he said, he's the only president in a while who didn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world. Troops have, of course, died on his watch. He said he's put in a $15 per shot cap on insulin and Medicare. It's a $35 a month cap. He said it's a $200 cap on overall drug spending in Medicare. It's $2,000 a year. He said the border now has fewer crossings than when Trump was in office. That's generally not true. He said, or at least strongly suggested, unemployment was at 15% when he took office. It was actually 6.4. He said Trump wants to get rid of Social Security. Trump doesn't. He said billionaires pay 8.2% in taxes. It's much higher. He said Trump told Americans to inject bleach amid COVID. We know Trump made foolish comments about scientists studying disinfectant injection, but didn't frame it as advice to people. And Biden said the Border Patrol endorsed him. No, its union supported the border bill he'd supported, never endorsed him himself.
Brutal. All right, Joe Biden's a giant liar, and everybody knows that. But he had to say those things because he couldn't say anything else. He didn't know what to say because he's not capable or competent. The polls came out basically immediately, and this was very curious. I mean, they had the knives already drawn, right? The swords were already out. As the debate got started, maybe they had their contingency plan already in place. If Joe Biden falls, this is the coverage. But it felt like somebody got a memo. There were text messages that went out or something. But boom, the results already out. It's like the debate just ended. Here is what they said on CNN, and this is about what we saw.
Who won the debate? We asked debate watchers in our instant poll, and the answer is a resounding Donald Trump did. 67% of debate watchers in our poll say Donald Trump won the debate tonight. Joe Biden, 33% say he won the debate tonight. Now, this group of debate watchers, they told us who they thought would win the debate going into it before the debate, and take a look at how that changed over time. 55% thought before the debate that Donald Trump would win the debate. 45% thought Joe Biden would win the debate. Look at what the debate did to those expectations.
Now, this has been such a weird thing for us, I think, here, because we have been living in reality, and so our expectations last night were met. Yesterday, when I was here talking about, it was kind of the status quo from Joe, right? He looked terrible, sounded terrible, couldn't talk, couldn't speak. He didn't know policy, made up a bunch of crap, didn't get really questioned on anything, got angry, looked like he had dementia, looked like he was on the verge of death. Like, all of that has been the status quo. That wasn't new to us at all. We've been watching this for the last 3 years. But this is Rachel Maddow last night. Brian Stelter is saying Biden just killed that crowd at the watch party, right? Rachel Maddow's super excited. Well, where was he? Where was that guy?
This is just been I mean, you heard his voice and his energy there and his cadence there a world away from what you just heard on the debate.
Look at her face.
Yeah.
She's in like shock.
Joe Biden would have killed in that debate. Joe Biden that we saw on the debate stage was about 90% more soft-spoken than that, and in a monotone when you could discern him. I will say President Biden, my opinion, very much seemed to warm up through the 90 minutes of the debate, and clearly beyond where we saw him right there. He was vintage Joe Biden. This is...
All right, so you could see that face right there. Man, that was a good pause. See that? It's not just a regular blink. That's like shield me from the world. Protecting yourself. No. Did I just watch that? Yeah. You did, Rachel. You should have been paying attention with the rest of us for a long time because that was normal. That was just how he sounds. This same thing came out from Marjorie Taylor-Greene, some reaction from her. She said this, says, they aren't shocked about Joe Biden's severe age-related issues. Don't buy it, okay? They know. They see him every day. They did this on purpose. The Democrats have lied to America about Joe Biden. That's true. And they're going to try to replace him, she says. I don't know, man. They're really running out of time, and they have no good options. If they had an amazing option, then maybe you'd say that would be an easy switcheroo. But if Joe Biden's not going to go anywhere, they're going to have a hard time throwing him out. So we're going to get back into that. We're going to go into that here in a bit. But let's listen to this woman who I think kind of wants to be like Trump a little bit with the hair. But she is here explaining this was pretty bad.
That said, I too was on the phone throughout much of the debate with Obama world people, with Democrats, with people who are political operatives, with campaign operatives. My phone really never stopped buzzing throughout. And the universal reaction was somewhere approaching panic. The people who were texting with me were very concerned about President Biden seeming extremely feeble, seeming extremely weak. And, you know, I'll just reiterate what I said earlier. President Biden had one job tonight, and one primary job. And yes, it was to litigate Donald Trump's, criminality and all of those things, but he had to settle his own party. He needed to settle Democrats. Democrats, they always talk about Democrats are bedwetters and Democrats are always panicking. Yes, Democrats are always panicking. They're always scared, right? They're always thinking they're going to lose. Like, Democrats are very pessimistic that this is just neurotic. Who they are. They're neurotic. But Joe Biden's job was to reassure them tonight. His job was to calm his party, to make them feel that, yes, I can do this. I have 4 more years in me. I have the ability and the stamina and the strength to do 4 more years. He did not do that.
No.
He did
depressed. Yeah, he did the opposite
of that. He made them more panicked. The people who were texting me were even more panicked. They actually expected it to be better than it was. And now they're in a, I won't say a full-fledged panic, but it's getting there.
Yeah, pretty close. And you can imagine why. Actually, I have a difficult time understanding why. I mean, we have been watching the same president as they have. So why are they having such a difficult time seeing what we're seeing? Pretty obvious on its face from our perspective. Joe Biden has a big problem. We saw it all on display last night. And now they're waking up like, what has happened here? All right, here's Jen Psaki. She hosts a show called Inside Jen Psaki on with MSNBC, hit new show. Here's what she says. She used to work for Joe Biden, and she's one of these people who lied to us all the time. He's great. He's doing backflips back there. You should see him, really.
Hours would you do?
Well,
What
I
should
think
he do?
You've seen aides do this, and you saw Governor Newsom do this a tiny bit at the end. I mean, he said at the beginning he won the debate. I don't think
Oh,
that's...
he's an excellent surrogate, by the way. Let me just say, A1.
But
He's
he
a liar,
said at the
yeah.
end, people have bad nights. It was not a good night for Joe Biden, right? I mean, he was great after, he was good at the State of the Union, but it wasn't a good debate performance. You acknowledge that. You let people take a little air out of the balloon. You're not living in La La Land. It wasn't a great debate. You have to have him out there and active and doing a lot of events and being very visible, right? And Nicole said this earlier, the best thing you can do as a communicator if you're advising him is change the subject.
Yeah,
right?
so exactly. So that's exactly what they're doing, right? Hey, go to a Waffle House, Joe. Hey, go do a rally, Joe. Get out there and do something else, do anything else so that we stop talking about this debate. You know, we're looking forward to another indictment of something, another arrest of somebody, perhaps another war, an invasion of something, maybe a terrorist attack, God forbid, could happen. Just, you know, to kind of change the subject a little bit. We'll see what happens next. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. But this is what Kellyanne Conway was saying in the aftermath in the spin room, of course, afterwards. And she, as usual, has some good takes on this. So let's see what she said about this in the aftermath.
AI-generated cartwheel machine. We all know what he's like in private because we all just saw him in public.
Yeah.
And whoever's idea it was to split the screen between Joe Biden and Donald Trump is not serving the president well. Joe Biden asked for this debate, basically begged for this debate to save his presidency, and he's now harmed it even more.
Yep.
But Brett, I want to say this to our Democratic friends who are watching. This is enough. It's enough. You're ruining the country. World leaders are seeing what we all see. Let's stop arguing about golf handicaps and a little aside here and there. The serious point is the one that people take away from this, which is this is just a man who can't do the job. What's wrong with that, by the way? Can't we admit that? Everybody has a relative who's in a situation like this. I hope Joe Biden lives another 20 years. Should be spent in Delaware ASAP.
Yes.
You and Peter Doocy just said the two magic words as to why it's not easy to remove Joe Biden and hasn't been easy for the 18 months they should have done it. Kamala Harris. People fear her. The fact that you're even mentioning Gavin Newsom or Gretchen Whitmer, how are we not mentioning the black woman vice president? Because she's shed 28 senior staffers, because nobody has confidence in her competence. They are scared about her being the president. And I think that's a very important point here. But let's stop pretending there's a mercy rule in Little League. If you're way ahead in runs, you call the game early. They should have done that.
Mercy rule, right? You remember that. You're up too much. You have too many points over the other person. They just call it, all right? It's embarrassing. You don't need to obliterate your opponents because it's just kind of humiliating and a disaster. Just call it, man. He's dead already.
Coming up. Majority of delegates are Biden people. They were chosen by his camp, ran to support him. So he would have to withdraw, but not as president, because as Kellyanne suggests, if he withdrew as president, she stepped aside, she becomes President Harris and could run as an incumbent. Democrats don't want that. So what would have to happen would be Biden deliberate his delegates, serve out his term, step aside at the end of the term, and let the party then, peopled by Biden delegates, deal with a race that would then ensue among... At the convention.
Wow, okay, so then it'd be an open forum, basically. Everybody could just pick, like free agents, essentially, right? The delegates could go where they wanted to go, slot anyone else in there, but they would have just months in order to cobble together an election, support and ground game and all that stuff. So they're in a precarious position. They have done goofed big time. Here is Steve Guest saying, watch Scott Jennings from Kentucky talk about Joe Biden's debate performance, former special assistant to Bush.
He did it. Let me just take the other side of this Kamala Harris debate. It is a fair question to ask right now, what is going on inside the White House every day? Is she currently making more decisions in the White House than we know? Who is making decisions in the White House right now? We're talking about this in terms of, can Joe Biden win an election and serve for 4 years? I want to know what's happening on a day-to-day basis. To me, she is the big story tonight because her position in this administration, in this campaign, has become magnified by 1,000 right now.
So that is a question, right? What is Kamala up to? Kamala showed up last night as well. And this is curious because is she trying to steal some of this limelight, right? Slot in here, just say, right? Just think about the pure politics of this. Joe Biden is now a wounded animal. Kamala is very hungry and she has an opportunity here ahead of her. So as Joe Biden's floundering and flailing around, she's like a vulture up there, just waiting to come in and scoop in for the kill and a big meal. And this might be why she's out, right? Showing, hey, look at me, I can talk, kind of, about Venn diagrams and USB drives ports. sorts. But here is what Anderson was saying. Did you see what we saw? Did you have a problem with any of this? And I get so tired of these guys like Anderson coming out. It's like, Anderson, dude, don't act like shock. Okay, come out, stop with this fake routine. Were you also concerned about what we saw from the president? It's like, shut up, Anderson. You watch him every day. You know he's as demented as the rest of us know he's demented. So you just have to fake your questions to match the mood and the narrative that your network sets. They all come out, wow, I can't believe we saw what we saw. Give me a break. Where have you been? You're in the media. You watch him all the time. You know he's demented, or you're as demented as he is if you can't recognize it.
It may be true, but the president of the United States was not able to make that case to Donald Trump on the stage tonight. I mean, you debated against Vice President Biden 4 years ago, and he was a very different person on the stage 4 years ago when you debated him. I mean, that's certainly true, is it not?
Anderson, the point has to be performance in terms of what a president does. A president who incites an insurrection against the Capitol. No, but I got the point that you're making about a 1.5 hour debate tonight. I'm talking about 3.5 years of performance in work that has been historic.
But
whether
is
it be
that the man who we
the
saw
former
on the
guy,
stage
the other
tonight,
guy,
is that
the other guy on the debate
every day?
stage.
You see him in
the person that you saw on the debate stage that the last 3.5 years, up until today, performed in a way that has been about whether it be in the Oval Office, negotiating bipartisan deals.
Yeah, right.
So that we have an infrastructure, a real infrastructure plan where we're putting trillions of dollars on the streets of America to upgrade our infrastructure. Whether it be the person I see in the Oval Office who is meeting with heads of the military and the intelligence community and in the situation.
Scary. This is interesting from Kamala because it's almost clever. It's almost kind of devious, kind of evil in a way. No, Joe Biden, okay, the man that you saw on the debate stage is the same man that we had no. He's been out there negotiating with foreign heads of state.
Of America. The person I see in Joe Biden on the world stage, convening world leaders who often ask for his advice. Most recently, just during the G7 conference.
Yeah, where he was wandering off for the parachuters.
I'm not going to spend all night with you talking about the last 90 minutes when I've been watching the last 3.5 years of performance.
Okay, even Anderson's going, I don't think so. So she's trying to paper over this. We have Dr. Jill Biden's trying to paper over this.
You heard Joe's heart tonight on the debate stage. He wakes up every morning thinking about how he can make the lives of Americans better. He's the president we need, the president you deserve. Sign up at joebiden.com to help finish the job.
That's Dr. Jill Biden. But let's see what else was happening on the other side. So here is Vivek, many talking about him being on the VP list, even though Trump said he's not. Some people are saying, well, you know, that's just Trump, right? You can't take that at final value. So here is Vivek out there in the post-debate room talking to the media.
And one of the attacks against Trump is commonly he wouldn't uphold the Constitution. What's your response to that?
My response to that is that's a lot of projection from the people who are making the accusations.
Yes.
The reality is
he
did not call for the termination of the
massive
Constitution.
fraud of this.
Cite for me one time where Donald Trump called for the termination of the Constitution.
I'm reading it to you right now.
He's never called for the termination of the
massive
Constitution.
fraud of this type magnitude.
But here's what I believe. I'm going to answer this question before I go to the next interview. What I do believe is there's the projection of the people who do call for the termination of the Constitution and their behaviors want to take the decisions away from the voters. Try to eliminate presidential candidates from the ballot box. The same people who are eliminating. You know what our founding fathers believe and the people who framed our Constitution believe? They believe that we, the people, get to decide who actually runs the country. Look, I think that if you're a reporter, you're interested in questions. If you're an activist, you're allowed to be an activist. I think that's allowed. So I wish you well in your journey as an activist, but if you're interested in actually being a reporter, go to the heart of the facts of what each candidate has done and what they've said. And never in American history have we seen the wielding of prosecutorial power to try to eliminate a candidate in the middle of an election while you had extrajudicial means of removing them from the ballot. And that's an insult. So that's the answer.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Vivek, for that. Absolutely right. I keep hearing the Democrats screaming and ranting about democracy and democratic values, and you ask yourself, wait a minute, when in our democratic history did we ever have political prosecutions of our opponents? I thought that was the most anti-democratic thing you could ever have. And Joe Biden not only did that and orchestrated that 4 times, David Sachs posted this with a big laugh track, says Trump should have never even had this platform, right? This is from The Atlantic, all right? They're already crying. The debate was a travesty. David Frum wrote that. says because its whole premise was to treat a failed coup leader as a legitimate candidate for the presidency again. All right, so David Frum is such a loser. Can't even have Trump come out and speak. And man, the knives were out. We saw this. They were throwing Biden overboard. You see, Glenn Greenwald shared this screenshot over from the New York Times. He says, last night vividly showed what deceitful herd animals, which is just perfect. It's exactly right. Corporate media employees are. It's like a school of fish or like birds in a flock. You know, the lead bird shifts, all the other birds follow in tow. It's exactly what happened last night. It was wild. So it wasn't a big surprise, but why are they all now, okay, one after another? These people are loyal sycophants for the Democrats. They don't ever change. They've justified everything that Joe Biden has done, everything up until this point. And now they're just going to suddenly, he had one bad debate. It's like, okay, we're now done with him. So Joe Biden's a good man from Thomas Friedman. These people were defending Joe at every turn. Joe Biden can do anything. Well, at least he's not Trump, an insurrectionist. So now they say he must bow out of the race? What? Glenn says they spent months denying Biden's decline, lying to all of us. You guys are idiots. You guys are so foolish. Claiming people only believed it because of the GOP cheap fakes. Remember, we talked about that last week with Karine. Soon it became too obvious to hide. They all switched narratives immediately because they're not that creative. We talk about this a lot also. We call them the copy-paste media because that's all they do. They can't come up with new ideas or new creative thoughts at all. They just copy and paste other work. Joe Biden is a good man, so he's like, oh crap. Frank Bruni says, oh crap, Thomas is writing about this? I gotta write about it too. Biden cannot go on like this, he says. Patrick Healy says, oh crap, Thomas and Frank are writing about this. I better do it too. I'm hearing high anxiety from Democrats over Biden's debate performance. Michelle says, after the debate, I don't think Joe Biden should be running. You're going, what? Ross and Ezra Klein and all these people coming out of nowhere like a bunch of herd animals because that's basically what they are. And our friend Cassandra MacDonald over with the Tim Pool team and a bunch of other great work says that I would like to know why, she caught this, was awesome. Nick Kristof and the New York Times had this article calling for Biden to drop out due to his debate performance. Why was that already preloaded on their back end on June 25th, 2 days before the election? Why nobody else who has written about this article asked this question? 2024, 6/25 is when the URL was published, right? That's the date. So why is that? The gray lady having an article ready to go calling for Joe to step aside may lend some credibility that there's a concerted efforts by some to replace him, to get him out of there. Someone said, my phone's been blowing up with texts from people saying, dear God, what are we gonna do? Another, also a fan of Biden, said, it's imperative that we change horses. But Democrats are gonna be reluctant to do that. So this is an interesting one. Gavin Newsom apparently thinking about replacing Joe Biden. He got asked about it. Let's see what his little grin looks like.
Are you going to be the next Democratic nominee?
No, our nominee is Joe Biden. I'm looking forward to voting for him in November. He's going to be our nominee.
Because you know that everyone are talking about you as a possible nominee now. Are you enjoying it?
So interesting thoughts that Joe Biden might be needing to go. There's more reaction from out there. This person from MSNBC says, I can't overstate the amount of freak out that is happening out there today. This clip came over from Tom S. Elliott on X.
But John Hammond, that moment sort of captures where we are right now. This was not just the 2012 debate. President Obama, yes, he was bad that night, but he went into that debate ahead. Joe Biden was not ahead last night. He wasn't down by much. It was a close race, margin of error race, but he had to answer some questions and he didn't show up last night. So now where do we go from here? So it's a two-part question. How does the Biden campaign try to right the ship to say, look, he's our guy? Or how do Democrats make the push to him to say, no, you're not. We need to go another direction.
I just start by saying that without having an opinionizing about this. As a matter of fact, having covered presidential debates since 1992, having seen a fair number of bad nights for candidates on first debates, bad nights for incumbents, bad nights for challengers, in terms of measuring the degree of alarm of a presidential candidate's party about their performance, I have never seen anything like this by an order of magnitude. Whoa! Yes. This is a reporting matter. Sitting congressmen, sitting senators, sitting governors, millionaires, billionaires, across the spectrum, people who've been supportive and loyal to Joe Biden from day one and continue in some respects to be supportive and loyal to Joe Biden, freaking out last night. I can't.
Is it the first time they've seen him speak? What are they so nervous about? What are they so freaked out at? He's been this way for 3.5 years. Like, what? That's our president? Huh? Yeah, that's him. That's what we've been talking about, guys.
Reportorial matter. I can't overstate the degree of freakout about what they were seeing. I don't know what is going to happen now, but I will tell you that by the time you got to the first commercial break, at the highest levels of the Democratic Party, senators, governors, congresspeople, biggest bundlers, biggest donors, there were conversations about what do we do now? We need to figure out how that works. And there's a story the other day in the totally non-credible, in many respects, Daily Mail, I think, a couple weeks ago, on Monday that said
Better
that
than MSNBC.
Clinton's, the Obamas, Schumer, and Pelosi were going to watch this debate, and if it did not go well for Joe Biden, they were going to go and try to have the talk with him about stepping back. Many people laughed at that. It was not a credible report. You look at the Daily Mail, there's a British tabloid, whatever. I had about 6 good sources after that who said that's not totally false. And the interesting part of that was the Schumer and Pelosi piece, because no one thinks Joe Biden would listen to the Obamas, the Clintons on this subject. But because he cares so much about Democrats in the House and Senate, there was some discussion about whether Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer privately were at least taking soundings on this question. I don't know what will happen now going forward. But I will say these are the kinds of conversations that people are having now in the Democratic Party as we speak.
Wow.
What to do, because the level of panic is, for me, in my time covering politics, I've never seen a level of panic about this on this scale.
So, Joan.
Wild. Okay, and so they're also saying that people apparently are suicidal. I don't even want to joke about that because that's terrible. I think this is a joke. You know, it's just kind of a turn of phrase. But people are saying that they're going to jump off of buildings and stuff. CNN, one Democratic congressman told CNN he wanted to jump off a bridge. Probably a very short bridge, be fine. Maybe he wanted to go for a swim because, you know, suicide's a bad thing, obviously. But wanted Joe Biden to fall apart, watching him fall apart on the national debate stage. So here is a report from CNN.
After his performance, it has really set off panic. There was one Democratic congressman I was in touch with who was on Capitol Hill at a watch party with a number of other lawmakers. And that moment early on in the debate where President Biden was talking about the national debt and seemed to lose his train of thought, paused for several seconds, and then gave confusing answer. He said that when that happened, the entire room was just completely silent and in shock, and that this member's own reaction was that he wanted to jump off a bridge. And he said that throughout the course of the 90 minutes of the debate, he and the other lawmakers in the room felt like Donald Trump looked young and Joe Biden looked old, and that Donald Trump seemed to mostly be on the offensive and that Joe Biden seemed to be mostly on the defense. Democrats, he said, are just panicked right now and don't even know what to do. I mean, these are some really devastating reviews for a Biden campaign that really wanted to use tonight to dispel this notion that President Biden is too old for a second term.
Brutal. All right, so we got a couple more clips and then we'll start talking about what's coming next. But I want to just indulge in it because it's so wild to see this, right? Even Van Jones is out. Now, Van Jones, to his credit, was out front and center. I think even before the debate, he was one of the people on the left saying, this could go bad. Like, this could be very bad. So Van Jones is now recognizing that too. Here's his reaction.
There is no two ways about it. That was not a good debate for Joe Biden.
That was painful. I love Joe Biden. I work for Joe Biden. He didn't do well at all. He did not do well at all. And I'll give you the analysis. You know, kind of have the old man versus the con man. Yeah. I can walk you through how I'm supposed to see it and say it, but I just want to speak from my heart. I love that guy. That's a good man. He loves his country. He's doing the best that he can, but he had a test to meet tonight to restore confidence of the country and of the base, and he failed to do that. And I think there's a lot of people who are going to want to see him consider taking a different course now. We're still far from our convention, and there is time for this party to figure out a different way forward if he will allow us to do that. But that was not what we needed from Joe Biden, and it's personally painful for a lot of people. It's not just panic, it's pain of what we saw tonight.
You guys pushed him into this. You nominated somebody who was not capable of this job. So what were you doing? Why did you put all of your eggs into this basket? Very foolish thing to do. You should have done something about your TDS and come back to reality. You would have recognized Joe Biden as an absolutely incompetent, incapable leader, and you could have made a decision a long time ago. But they didn't want to do that because orange man bad, and they can't figure out 2 steps in front of their own faces. All right, which is why our country is in such disarray, because everything is operating on feeling and energy and hope and change and all this crap. It's all disconnected from reality. That's why everything is breaking. So this was another consequence of this. What about down ballot races, right? If you're a senator like John Tester, if you're a senator like Sherrod Brown, you're having a holy crap moment tonight. Bob Casey in Pennsylvania is another one, right? They're all freaked out because of the down ballot races. Here, CNN might have a little S-word warning here, content warning.
But what's going to happen over the next few weeks is, does this subside at all? Well, how will you know the answer to that question? The Democrats who are running either in very tough Senate races in red states, if you're John Tester or Sherrod Brown tonight, you are having a holy shit moment with Bob Casey. I'm sorry, Bob Casey in Pennsylvania is another one. If you are, the current thinking was, you know, who knows who's going to win a competitive presidential race? Republicans are favored to win the Senate, and Democrats will probably eke out and get the House back. Tonight, there's a lot of Democrats saying, well, wait a minute about that. And so all those Democrats who are in tough districts or tough states are going to get their pollsters and get their teams together, and they're going to see, did this hurt me? And that's the conversation that's going to trickle on for the next week or so. When we're sitting at a table like this a week from now, we'll have a much better sense of what it means, whether the in-your-face to the Biden White House will continue, or will Democrats say, that was horrible, but there's nothing we can do about it. We got to try to find a a way to fix it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that's going to depend on Joe Biden. What's Joe Biden going to do? Over these next few days, it sounds like there's just a ton of pressure. Okay, this is David Plouffe, Obama campaign dude. DEFCON 1 moment, right? So, like Heilman, Plouffe. I'm sure Axelrod's got some takes on this. So, all right, this is DEFCON 1 moment from David Plouffe, who got Obama in there. Here is what this sounded like.
Well, I think consistent with your reaction, Rachel, and others on the panel, it's kind of a DEFCON 1 moment. I do think Lawrence and Chris give a very important caveat. Listen, I've been deeply involved in presidential campaign debates. Some went well, some didn't go well. The only thing that matters, and you won't really know for 3 or 4 days, is how the voters that will decide this election will react. I would also add, I have deep suspicion that Donald Trump with swing voters bombed as well. And that's the tragedy. Because I think Joe Biden, the biggest thing in this election is voters' concerns, and it's both swing voters and base voters with his age, and those were compounded tonight. So what the campaign's going to do is try and run ads. Biden will go out tomorrow and the next day being aggressive. I mean, it wasn't just his craziness and his lies, although that was apparent in every question. Like, Donald Trump wouldn't even answer questions about child care or the opioid crisis. You know, talk about someone who's consumed with himself, which is what the message the Biden campaign wanted to land. But the concern level is quite high. This is a race that, it reminds me a little bit of 2012, but in reverse. We had a small but significantly important lead in battleground states. We had a really bad first debate. Race tightened, but we're okay. Biden is behind narrowly right now. He's the one that has to change the equation here. And the biggest barrier that's keeping his ceiling too low is concerns about age. And I think that's the tragedy, because I think Trump had so many openings that you could have just scissored him up on tonight. And Biden did have a couple of good moments, but I think at the end of the day, the overwhelming reaction, again, it doesn't matter, quite frankly, what people like us say. It's what voters say. And if they were already concerned about, is he up for it? And the way I think about it is, sadly, this really pains me to say this, they're 3 years apart. They seemed about 30 years apart tonight.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the thing that voters really wrestle with coming out of this.
Yes, they did. Remember the Nixon-Kennedy debates? Remember that? Nixon came out. It was one of the first televised debates ever. Nixon came out, he's sweating, kind of didn't look so good, not really polished for the cameras. Kennedy came out, looked good, looked crisp, looked 30 years younger, and won. Because it's about vitality. Also, we talked about this yesterday. It's about not necessarily what you say, but it's about how you present yourself, your energy, your aura. Who do you want walking into the room with some of these foreign countries? Who do you want negotiating with the intelligence communities? And all of these things, right? It's not somebody who can't even walk down the stairs, for crying out loud. So we've got now, we're checking in with the morning show, the Joe and Mika Brzezinski show, because Joe has been one of the worst on this one. Joe Brzezinski at screaming at all of us about how vigorous he is. He's more vigorous than you, Republican congressman, and he does backflips and he does hikes and cartwheels and jumps out of airplanes and all sorts of things.
Okay, hold on a second. That I agree with everything you said, except for the last part of it. Everybody calm down, and I'll tell you why.
Why?
I mean, it's fine to not spin what happened last night, and we're not going to.
But by the way,
he had
Mika,
a terrible
by the
night.
way, Mika, everybody's calm here. No, you're the only one raising your voice.
No,
Everybody
no.
is calm here.
But again...
There's a little bit of marital tension there, live on camera.
It's the, let's just immediately pull this. Let's end this. Let's find someone else.
That's not what Mike said.
That attitude toward this...
That attitude? That's not what Mike said, weirdo.
Is what I am saying slow down on. Because, again,
tense over there in that
there's no
house.
spinning it. But let's be balanced. Let's, for once, show some balance in a media world that is so shrill with imbalance that we've become inured to the difference between these two candidates. So let's put it this way. Gene Robinson, I'll go to you.
Well, wait, I just have to stop you. First of all, we always show balance.
We are, yeah.
Secondly,
You do a great
nobody's panicking. I said these were questions that Democrats and Joe Biden needed to ask themselves. And Mike said he missed one pitch down the middle after another and wasn't up to it last night.
Right, okay.
He said
wasn't up to it last night.
He said last night. So I will say that it's not panic. I mean, it's not being panicked.
Dude, we just played 35 clips of people panicking on the media.
To understand.
On your media. You're on MSNBC too.
Understand what's at stake and understand the window is closing very quickly. And if last night did not reveal that to you and other Democrats, then it needs to be revealed pretty soon.
All right, so things are a little bit tense over there at the Brzezinski household. We'll see where Joe Biden is sleeping tonight, maybe with another intern. All right, we got this one from Dougie Cass. Dougie Cass is with Seabreeze Capital Partners LP, and I don't know where he got this inside scoop, but here's what he's got for us. And you always take this stuff with a grain of salt, but here's what he's hearing. He says, what I am hearing regarding Joe Biden, Ron claims McClain and Barack Obama are having a sit-down with Joe Biden today. Jill Biden is insistent that Joe runs. Well, we know that. Kamala is furious that she is not being considered as a replacement. Whitmer and Newsom are, which Newsom would be bad, I think. Interestingly, my neighbor in East Hampton is hosting the Bidens tomorrow. It will be an important tell if the fundraiser is canceled, right? So what's happening tomorrow? We'll see. So interesting from Dougie. We also have some other Democrats who are on team Mika Brzezinski, like John Fetterman, says, I refuse to join the Democratic vultures on Biden's shoulder after the debate, John Fetterman. All of the others were just hanging around waiting for Joe to die. No one knows more than me that a rough debate is not the sum total of the person and their record. That's right. All right. Now we also know that as of today, as of this morning, Joe Biden's not going anywhere. So Benny Johnson clipped this one. Nick Sorter sharing it. Says, despite going down in flames, Biden is not dropping out of the race. The campaign is out. They say he's committed to another debate in September. They're going to come back and do this again? Oh, gosh. All right. Here's what they sounded like on CNN.
Still committed to a second debate in September, which is currently scheduled for September 10th and hosted by ABC News, much along the lines of the rules of the debate that was hosted last night. Now, the advisor that I spoke with said that they're not putting too much stock in the conversation last night and that many of the staffers on the campaign and in the White House also worked on President Obama's re-election in 2012, and they tried to draw the parallel to that first debate that was a very low performance for President Obama. Even he would call it a stinker, and they said if you had believed the pundits in the wake of that debate, Mitt Romney would have been president after that.
And I think that is true. The first debate is always worse for the president. Even Trump had that problem. And I think it is in part because they're locked up, right? They have a shell built around them, so they don't have a lot of interfacing with the rest of the world. And that has been Joe Biden's entire MO since he even ran in 2020, was to just throw him in a bunker so that nobody could hear from him or see from him. So we got that story that they're going to continue on. RNC Research also clipped this one saying that this is National Biden campaign co-chair. His name is Mitch Landrieu. He says, yeah, we're running. What do you think? That's it for us? Like we're just giving up here? Not gonna happen. Not bloody likely. Here is what he says.
There's always a truth-telling session when these things happen. Joe Biden is not averse to hearing things that are bad. He has to make the decision about whether he's going to be a candidate or not. He has done that, and he's going to be the nominee. So again, he started off slow last night. I thought he had some really good points during the debate. There's always a truth-telling session.
He's always going to be the candidate, right? They're not giving up easily. They've been working hard for this thing, and they cannot give it up now. So we'll be here to continue to cover this, my friends, and we'll look forward to seeing you back here as we do. Thank you so much wherever you're watching this for subscribing. Thank you for liking this video, and thank you for sharing this channel with a friend or family member. We're covering all the Trump litigation and more. 2024 is going to be a hot and spicy season, and we're very much looking forward to going through it together with you. We'll look forward to seeing you back here on the next one.